What's up, guys? It's Mike. I'm back with another video for you. I just finished watching Elio along with a bunch of other movies this week, so I thought now would be a great time for me to review what I think of all the Pixar movies in whole, where this kind of falls in line with everything, in my tier rankings for all the different Pixar movies. I thought this would be a fun idea. I haven't really done one of these tier videos before, so let's get right into it. So today, we'll just go through the list here as they come up in order on this website. So the first up is going to be the OG Toy Story. Absolutely love this film. This is S tier, Pixar at its finest. I don't think anybody can debate this, and I'm pretty sure everybody's familiar with Toy Story and the movies that followed it. So that's got to be an S tier for sure. Now, we're doing this in real time. I have not prepared for any of this, so if I flub a little bit, I flub. I'll be honest about the movies that I haven't seen or don't remember seeing if I did see, and that does include A Bug's Life. I think the closest I've gotten to this was the experience at the Tree of Life in Disney's Animal Kingdom. So I'm not going to claim to have seen this one, but I've heard good things, but we'll just go ahead and leave it there for now. Toy Story 2, I did enjoy. I enjoyed the introduction of the new characters, and I don't know, actually, you know what? I don't know if it's going to be an S tier, but it's definitely going to be an A tier for me. I wouldn't rank it as high as the OG Toy Story, but it was pretty good. Monsters, Inc. I love this movie. I love Billy Crystal. I love the dynamic. The acting is spectacular in this film. And again, this is just one of the OG Pixar movies for me that I really appreciate. So I'm going to go ahead and put this up to S tier for now. Finding Nemo. I have mixed opinions about this one, but I do really like it. I'm going to go with an A tier on this one. I think that it doesn't quite hit the emotional beats as these other two do, but it is very, very close. I'm just going to go with A for Nemo. Incredibles. I love The Incredibles. Love it. It's Brad Bird's directing, the acting, everything about this movie was complete S tier for me. So that's where that's going to go. Is this the original Cars? It looks like this is original Cars, which I do really, really, really enjoy. However, it has never been like one of my favorites, but I respect it a lot. And I think I just didn't watch it enough when I was younger. So I'm going to put this at a B tier for me for Cars, the OG Cars. Ratatouille, I loved Ratatouille. This movie brings back so many memories for me. I probably watched this a dozen times when it first came out. It's not my favorite, but it is really up there for me. So I'm going to leave that at A tier. I don't know why, but that one was just always so relatable to me. WALL-E, I do love WALL-E. I recently did a rewatch because I do own it in the Criterion Collection, and I thought that their edition was wonderful. It is really ahead of its time, and I don't think that any Pixar film comes close, really, to the layers that this one has in it, and how much they're able to express without speaking. I mean, WALL-E's character doesn't speak the entire movie, and you still feel more emotion in that character than you do half the characters I see in animated films today. So this has got to be S tier for me. Up. Wow. Okay, so there's a lot of emotion. Up, a story I really, really enjoyed. The beginning is so sad, but it has some of the best music of any Pixar movie, I think, ever. And great story. I'm going to have to give this one an A tier. This is so hard because a lot of Pixar movies are good. I really enjoy them quite a bit. If you can't tell already. I know I'm kind of like burning through the years. I'm excited to get to Elio and my thoughts on that one. But all right, still working our way through here. Next up, Toy Story 3. I specifically remember this one in the theater, like almost crying, like to the point, just that whole scene where you think that something terrible is going to happen to those characters was probably one of the most emotional Pixar moments I think I've ever seen, along with the whole story about, you know, going off to college and all that stuff and donating the old toys. Just super emotional. I don't know if it hits as strongly as the original Toy Story, but it's definitely above Toy Story 2 to me. So I don't know. This is controversial for sure. So I think I'm actually going to move Toy Story 2 down to B tier and Toy Story 3 up to A tier, because I do have quite a few more memories of this movie than I do Toy Story 2. It's been quite a while since I've seen Toy Story 2. So anyways, there's that. Cars 2, I did not subject myself to, so I'm not. I know I've heard it's very bad, but I've never seen it, so I'm not going to rate a movie I haven't seen. Brave. I am trying to remember this one. I think I've seen pieces of it, but I don't think I've ever seen it all the way through. So I'm going to have to give this a never seen. Monsters University, I've definitely seen. It's been quite a while though. I do remember it being okay. I don't remember like exceptionally loving it or anything like that, but it was fine. I'm going to give that a C. Inside Out. So here's where we're going to get kind of strange. So I actually watched Inside Out for the first time in prep to watch Inside Out 2. But ironically enough, I think I liked Inside Out 2 more than I liked Inside Out. I don't know why. I know that a lot of people really, really liked and are huge fans of Inside Out, the OG. But maybe because I had my first theater experience with Inside Out 2, that's why I prefer that one, and the recency bias and all that kind of thing. So it's still a solid film. I'm not knocking it, but for me, that's going to go as a C tier. And I know that's controversial, and I feel bad about it. I'm sure if I would have grown up on that film, I would feel differently. But that one just didn't connect with me as much as Toy Story, or as Inside Out 2 did, per se. All right, next up is The Good Dinosaur. I've actually never seen this one, so I'm going to throw this down here. Although I've heard about it, I just have not seen it. Finding Dory, acceptable. Certainly not my favorite. I think at this point is where we're starting to get to the, I don't know if you'd call them cash grabs or whatever, but was this necessary? Probably not, and it came really far after the first one. So I'm honestly probably going to give this one a D tier. Not to say that it was bad, it just, you'll notice I don't even have an F tier on here because I don't think any Pixar movie is necessarily bad. Cars 3, I have seen this one, but it's been so long I couldn't even tell you what it was about. I'm going to put it never seen, but if I realistically had to rank it, it would probably be kind of lower. Coco. This movie, wow, this was more emotional than I had ever anticipated it being. So I'm going to rank this an S tier. I think that of all the recent Pixar movies, this is probably the one that had the most emotional impact on me. It had really good music, really good acting, incredibly touching story. I have to do S tier for that one. Incredibles 2 was actually really good. Like, not as good as The Incredibles 1, but I loved The Incredibles 2. The action was incredible. The story was great. I don't know. I'm going to have to give this one an A tier as well. This is, I guess, only the second sequel that I've given an A tier or higher to. So a lot to be said about the Incredibles series in general. I'm excited for the next one that's supposedly coming out. We'll see how that goes. I know we've got a different director stepping in for that one, so we'll see how that turns out. Toy Story 4. Absolutely not. I'm just going to move on from here. I think it's so forgettable. I couldn't even tell you what it was about, and I did see it. I saw it twice, and I couldn't tell you one bit of plot point from it right now. So if that says anything about it, I'm just going to put it there. Onward, I think this hit right during the lockdown times, and I just think it didn't get the exposure that it needed to get. I remember hearing about this when it came out. I remember watching it on Disney Plus, and I enjoyed it. I wouldn't say it's my favorite, but I know a lot of people who really did enjoy this film. I just think it didn't get the exposure that it needed to succeed. But I'm going to give it a solid, I would say B tier. It was a really unique and interesting story that I could appreciate, and it looked great. So I'm going to give that a B on my rankings. Soul. If you know anything about me, I am a big music nerd. I love music. I love jazz music. I love all kinds of music, honestly. This movie I was very excited for when it came out. The story was kind of not what I was expecting at all, but I still felt a connection to it through the music. And I thought that the most interesting aspect of it wasn't what I thought it was going to be. And that kind of was a little bit of a letdown. So I'm going to give this one a C tier. I wish it was a little bit more along the lines of what I thought it would be, but it wasn't, and that's okay. I guess my expectations were not met for that one, but I still really enjoyed it. So that gets a C tier for me. Luca, when this movie came out, I was obsessed with it. Absolutely loved it. I've seen this about a dozen times. It's not quite S tier, but is a high, high, high A tier for me. Absolutely love this film. It should have had a theatrical release. Very well made. A tier all the way. Turning Red. I really liked this movie. I thought it was fun. Kind of corny at times. And not your typical Pixar film, I guess you'd say. So while it was fun and while it centered around this boy band and this music and this girl kind of finding herself, I don't know if it was a top tier Pixar film for me, but I think the creativity kind of brought it above not being terrible, if that makes sense. So I'm going to put this at a C tier. It's like what I would say is a calm, average Pixar movie, in my opinion. Lightyear. So I did see this one. I wasn't a huge fan of it. I don't know if we needed this. It was a little less than okay for me, so I'm going to give this one a D. Elemental. This was one that I had just got off a recent watch of a few months ago, and I thoroughly enjoyed this film. I know a lot of people missed it during its first theatrical run, and it's, become more and more appreciated on Disney Plus. Audiences are kind of accepting it now, and it stinks that they didn't when it was in theaters. But I thought it was very well made. I thought the story was interesting and unique. Had some memorable characters, some memorable moments. This was a pretty high-ranking film for me. I'm going to give this a B. And I know a lot of people would probably rank that a little bit higher, but again, the connection isn't there for me quite at this stage of my life, but I do really appreciate this film. So I'm going to give that a B. Inside Out 2, like I said, I like this one more than I like the original Inside Out, but it wasn't a favorite of mine. This is, again, an above average Pixar film in my opinion. And so I'm going to give this one a B out of the tier system. And finally, we wrap up with Elio, which is the movie I just saw the other day. I think that we want Pixar to keep making these original movies rather than getting all these remakes that we're seeing in theaters these days. And to do that, we really have to support films like Elio that are in theaters. Now, this one's been plagued with a myriad of rewrites. They first announced this back in 2023, and they've made lots of changes behind the scenes. It cost them a lot of money. I don't even know if they're going to break even on this film because, at the time of the release, it's coming out at the same time as the How to Train Your Dragon remake, along with Lilo and Stitch is still in theaters right now and still doing pretty well. So this one's going to be hard, and it stinks because these are the kinds of films we need coming to theaters. We need to support these more unique stories that are coming to theaters in order to get more of them made in the future, rather than getting sequel after reboot. So if you can support this in the theater, please do so. Otherwise, we may not have that many more Pixar originals to celebrate in the future. This one, I think, was a pretty unique story. I think it's going to get buried at the box office, unfortunately. But I enjoyed it. I don't think it's an S tier, but it's certainly not a D tier. It's going to fall somewhere in the middle here. I definitely think this is more along the lines of a B tier. I think a lot of people will enjoy it. Actually, you know what? Now I'm thinking about this. For me, this is going to be a B or a C. The story was very unique in its incorporation of space characters and things we haven't really seen before in Pixar films, but the underlying story is something we've seen a dozen times in Pixar films. Nothing stood out story-wise to me, but everything was more relatable to, I think, very specific groups of people with this film. I think that, like I mentioned in my shorter review, maybe families that are made up from different places are really going to appreciate this because of how the character integrates with his aunt, and that's their family. So maybe non-traditional families are going to find this very appealing. I think that the general message of kind of finding yourself and appreciating what you have and all these other things that are in the background, these are things that we've heard a dozen times. However, this movie is extremely funny. There are lots of moments when our whole theater was basically laughing the entire time out loud. And it's pretty great in that way, along with some of the side characters are really fun as well. So I guess this would be average to above average, but you know what? I have to put this in the average because every time I'm thinking back about this movie that I just saw, nothing screams like, oh, this was incredible about it. And I usually have to have at least one of those things to push it above my average tier. Otherwise, it wouldn't be an average tier, right? looking at my list here, now that we've got all of these movies in place, I think this is a fair assessment of where I would put everything. If there's anything I would change, I don't know if there's anything I would change from this list. This is pretty much going to be it. So there you have it. This is every Pixar film ranked. I will leave a link in the description below to download this image if you like it. Or please let me know in the comments if you've got different opinions. I'm sure you do. This is just one grown man's opinion on what these different Pixar films mean to me. I'm sure different things speak to different audiences, and that's why it's important to have a variety, and that's why it's important to keep coming out with original content. Be on the lookout for lots of movie reviews coming up this summer. We have an absolutely stacked summer, so I think even this week alone I'm going to 4 different films, and there will be new shorts coming out all the time. I'm going to try and do a little bit more frequent with my long form videos to at least check in with you, make sure that you're getting the content that you want. So if you have any different video ideas for me, please leave them in the comments below as well. Please subscribe, turn on the notification bell if you're not already, and I hope you have a great day, and I'll see you at the next show.